field, I think that we have worked really hard to get employers on board. And I have to tell you that at the Employer Leadership Forum this morning, I think they're finally getting it. Do you think, Laura? I think the employers are finally getting it. It was really exciting this morning. And that's the good news. The bad news is that in order to fill all of those jobs that I think we're going to ultimately have when all of these employers start hiring, we need more money. And that's a problem. The Wisconsin group did a Take Your Legislator to Work event a couple years ago and presented here at APSI, and I thought, wow, this is a really great idea. I'm going to take it home with me, and we're going to do this in Pennsylvania. And what I learned was that Pennsylvania is a really big state, so we decided to do Philly instead, because in Philly we don't really do anything the way anybody else does it. So I'm going to share with you what we did. Here's some interesting information. Did you know that there are 7,853 state representatives and senators in the United States? If you add another 52 governors and 535 United States senators and representatives, you have nearly 8,000 legislators in this country, and that doesn't count local people, who have, on some level, a vote on policy and budgeting. You want to talk about not making choices for yourself? We got thousands of people making choices about funding and support for people with disabilities and employment. So while Wisconsin's doing a really great job in their state, we decided to take this small, and I want you to know that, is there anybody out here who hasn't heard of Take Your Legislator to Work yet? There's a really great toolkit on the APSI website, so you should check it out. It's kind of like Take Your Daughter to Work, only so that your daughter can learn that it's okay for women to work. It's Take Your Legislator to Work so that your legislator can learn that it's okay for people with disabilities to work in the community at competitive employment. Duh. So the top two reasons that people engage in charitable giving is that they have a personal experience and a desire to make a difference. I believe that's the top two reasons that we do anything. We've all heard people, and myself included, talk about, oh, I'm going to support this cause because so-and-so or blah, blah, blah. I have a connection with it. As a matter of fact, I just heard today that 97%, there's a report out that says that 97% of people give to organizations with which they have a relationship or a personal interest. That sounds like a really high number, but it sounds even higher when you consider that that is 37% higher than that was 5 years ago. Okay, so people do things because we feel strongly about it. And I purport to you that our legislators out there, many of them probably have no idea what supported employment is. They have no idea what employment means to people with disabilities. And they have no idea how their votes count on budgeting and policy when they go to sessions. So I'm going to start a little description of how we did this in Philly. But first, Adam Yauch. Anybody know who Adam Yauch is? Yeah? Tell me who he is. Somebody was shaking their head. No? Yes! Excellent. He was a founding band member of the Beastie Boys. And he had a really good comment, quote that I think goes along with this. People need to be more aware of how they're affecting people. People need to be more aware of how they're affecting people. Only the Beastie Boys, right? I think that the Take Your Legislator to Work program has been designed to help create the awareness and the personal connections. And I think that if you can't do it on a big statewide basis, you can do it on a citywide basis. You can do it on an organization-wide basis. We've got almost 8,000 legislators out there that need to come to work with somebody. Okay? So here's how we've done it. Maybe. Okay. When we talk about cultivating change, we use the word cultivate. And I looked that word up, and it has one definition that means to develop or improve by education or training. That's what we need to do. We need to educate and train our our legislators. I, however, particularly this time of year, when I hear the word cultivate, I think about my garden because it's where I want to be all the time. And my children are in the back laughing because they know it's true. So I'm going to, no, it's not up. See here, I'm talking about this, and you don't see my garden. Good thing it's not mine. Full disclosure here. Okay, I'm going to let him do his magic, and I'll keep going. The first step to a successful garden is what? Yes. Yeah, you got to get some land. Okay. We got that. I got my beds. They're all set up. Now what? Seeds. You got to plant seeds. And that's what we're talking about, is planting seeds with these legislators. Some crops you plant by what's called broadcast planting, and you just take the seeds and you just throw them in a big space and you see what happens. That's how we started our Take Your Legislator to Work program. We just kind of threw out 253 emails to every Pennsylvania senator and representative, and we threw out 16 city council member emails. And then we threw out 6 invitations and letters to, see, isn't that a pretty seed? To, squirrel. Then we threw out the 6 invitations to the United States senators and representatives that serve the Philadelphia area. And you know what? We got a couple people call, but not very many. No big surprise. So the other way to plant seeds is to plant them one at a time in a nice little row, very specifically. So the next effort that we made was that we said to all the providers in Philadelphia, we said, hey, who do you have out there that's working at a really great job that might be a good candidate to bring a legislator in to visit, somebody that can share with them what they do and an employer that is willing to support them and talk about hiring them and that kind of thing. And so we got a couple more people to do that. And now I've totally lost my place. Oh, so all in all, we still haven't grown enough seeds, but we're going to keep working at that. We have had about 13 visits in the Philadelphia metropolitan area. We've found a few champions, people that I know we can call on for other things, and that's part of what we're going to do too. But we've got a lot of other lessons that we learned along the way, and it's always good to hear how it worked for somebody else, so I thought I'd share those ideas with you. Okay. You need to start your seedlings, ultimately, under lights, and make sure you consistently water them. You can't just throw them in the ground or, hope that they're just going to be. I have a garden club, and a bunch of us garden together, and every January we start about 300 or 400 seeds, and we put them under the lights, and we water them, and we watch them grow. And you can check out my blog, because I have one on that, but that's okay, never mind. But the moral of that story is that it really does take patience. A lot of the providers, when they were trying to schedule visits, or the individuals, when they were trying to schedule visits, they just gave up because they're like, yeah, I can't get a hold of this person, never mind. So we decided it was easier to have a single point of contact because my organization is not really a provider organization. I'm not weighed down by as much by billing hours or units. So I decided that I would be the point person, and so people can contact me and say, hey, John works here. And then I go online and I plug in the little zip code and whatever, and up pops all of the legislators that serve that area. So I'm the point person, and let me tell you, it still takes a lot of patience. Many of them, if they're in session, I just got an email about 3 weeks ago from an invitation I made, and fortunately they emailed me and didn't just ignore me, but they said, you know what, she would love to come, but she's in session until the end of June, so call back in like July, mid-July. So I put it on my calendar. And I'll go ahead and pursue that. But it takes dozens of emails and weeks and days to get through to somebody sometimes. So you just have to keep nurturing your seeds. I promise it will pay off. Sometimes when you plant too many seeds, you have to thin your crops. So what I found was that when we threw this offer out to providers, I was having all kinds of people call and say, how about this person? How about that person? One thing that we really tried hard is to keep in mind that this is an employment first initiative. And the people that legislators are visiting need to be people that are in community integrated employment, earning at least minimum wage. Okay, so I had to say no to a couple people, but it was a good opportunity to do some education with some providers as well. You do have to have strong soil to grow, and what I learned is that the legislators, many of them will visit somebody that's working in their district, but they really want to visit that person that's living and working in their district. So make sure you get their home address too and plug that in and figure out who that is. If you get a double hit, you're good. So after you've planted all your seeds and you've nurtured them and you've let them grow, you do get to reap the harvest, and we are starting to have some fruits of our labors come in. We had one senator, state senator, that was really interested in supported employment in general and said that she gets lots of questions from lots of constituents about where they can get help getting jobs, and a lot of people with disabilities and whatnot. So she actually sent about 6 staffers to meet with the agency that had done the visit, as well as a representative from our local intellectual disability services and myself. And so they all spent about an hour and a half really learning about what supported employment is and what kind of services are out there. So I thought that was really exciting. We had 8 press releases that were generated into local papers. And things that I thought were really cool is Facebook posts. We had a representative post on his Facebook about his visit. That was kind of cool. I actually had to go check, and he has like tens of thousands of likes on his page, so that went to a lot of people. We also have legislators that have just straight up posted it on their legislative page. And it's still there, and he visited about a year or a little more over a year ago, so it's still there for his constituents when they come visit his page. We've had employers who posted on their page when there was a visit, so I feel like it's gone out to lots and lots of people. So I don't know what's next. After you get to the end of your season, you have to plan your next year's crops. You have to seed save, which means you need to save the good parts of what you did, and you need to rotate your crops, which means maybe you got to plant something different or plant it differently next time or in a different place. So our plans to expand this is that we want to find a regional point person in several parts of Pennsylvania and expand this beyond Philadelphia. We also want to identify legislators that are members of specific targeted committees, so members of the Education Committee, members of the Labor and Industry Committee, members of the Department of Public Welfare Committee, and kind of target those people because we know that they're really talking about these budgets. And as I said earlier, identify those champions and figure out how to engage them to engage other legislators. So now what I want to do is I want to challenge you guys to each take this state level, take it local level, take it organizational level, because 7,383 plus 535 plus 52 equals 7,970 legislators that need to have a personal experience so they can make the right votes that support people in working. Thanks.